Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Saturday, May 14th, and man, we got an exciting weekend of Stanley Cup playoff action ahead. Not one, not two, not three, not four. It's like LeBron James years ago. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five championships. Not one, not two, not three, not four game sevens, but five game sevens this weekend in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And we are definitely excited about that. Ian Cameron, we've got our weekend man Vito with us, as he always is every Saturday and Sunday. We have some bad news, though. What was supposed to be four of us on the show today might just be the two of us here, Vito and I. Alex is pending to an emergency involving a friend of his, so Alex may not be with us. And unfortunately, our special guest, Daryl Bootland, golf caddying today. And apparently he's a funny guy, by the way. Told me he needs the money. So couldn't turn down the money. We ain't paying him shit to be on the Ice Guys. So I understand why he wasn't able to make it here today. Golf caddying is where Daryl Bootland is. He did feel bad that he couldn't make it today, but we'll reschedule him later on in the playoffs. So we're looking forward to it. Jeffrey's got the right idea, Vito, in the chat, saying Vito looks pretty dapper today. He did. He dressed up for Game 7s.
Game 7.
Same old, plain blah golf shirt on. That's all I'm rocking. Vito's got the blazer going. So, Vito, well done. You're looking sharp.
Well, every man has his own style, you know. You cannot judge that.
That's right. Hopefully your picks are as sharp as the wardrobe. That's the goal now, for sure. All right, we'll get to Game 7s for today. 3 of them, obviously. We'll break those down in just a second. But first, let's look back, as we always do, on last night. We had some interesting Game 6 action. Vito, how about the New York Rangers here? Left for dead after Game 4, down 3-1. I honestly thought, if I could rip up if it was a paper ticket that I placed that Rangers series bet with, I would have ripped it up after Game 4. I would have said, to hell with this. This series is over. But let's give the Rangers credit. Game 5, it started on their home ice at MSG in Game 5. It started poorly for them. They were down 2-0. They found a way to come back and win that game in impressive comeback fashion. They had those 3 quick goals in the second period, just in the blink of an eye, completely turned the game around, and they ended up winning Game 5 at MSG. And I kind of expected them to do that because I did like the Rangers in Game 5, and they cashed in. I wasn't so sure about them winning last night, even with Sidney Crosby out, because in theory, the Penguins have enough in their arsenal and in their lineup to be able to step up without him. And look, they got off to a great start again. Just like in Game 5, Vito, a 2-0 lead for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And just like Game 5, they couldn't make it stand up as the New York Rangers rally back. Penalty trouble for the Penguins in the second period. I think the look that you could have seen Mike Sullivan give to Evan Rodriguez in that second period for that dumb, selfish, self-inflicted wound penalty that he took that really gave the Rangers momentum. He looked like he was ready to kill him. Seriously, Mike Sullivan was not. You could tell he was just, you son of a bitch, taking that stupid penalty, taking that selfish penalty, giving a team that was right behind the 8 ball life in that game last night. And that's exactly what that penalty did. Zibanejad gets the 2-1 goal, and he got going after having a very quiet series. Chris Kreider makes an impact. They end up taking the lead. Pittsburgh ties it. Evgeny Malkin, and shout out to Ray Bryce, our guest yesterday on the show. He said Malkin to score on the show yesterday, and he did, getting that 3-3 goal yesterday. But then Louis Domingue shows sometimes why he's Louis Domingue at the end of that game and why he's a marginal backup goaltender, and that's what he's been throughout the last several years in the league. That is a puck that has to be stopped, period. That's it. It has to be stopped. An NHL goaltender has to make that save right there on that 4-3 Rangers goal. Just a brutal one to give up. And it's that first moment where if you're Pittsburgh, you can say, yeah, we kind of need Tristan Jarry back. You have not really had to say that at any point in this series. But when you saw that 4-3 goal go in, it's like, yeah, we kind of need Tristan Jarry back at this point. And they need Sidney Crosby back too. There's no question. A guy like that
today.
Settle it down. Yep.
Crosby skated today in the practice, so it's playoffs. I don't think maybe he's 100% ready, but it is what it is. It's game 7, and they need him. So I think we might see the Crosby as well playing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, I think credit to Rangers. They
Yep.
battle back great. And it looks like she's choking out again, playing pretty well. And yeah, Pens just blowing the leads. So it's gonna be hard.
Exactly. We were finding out that, I'm not surprised they're showing a little guts, a little heart, a little character. Gerard Gallant is a man of character, the head coach. And a lot of times the head coach, and his personality will filter on down through to the players. If the general leads, the troops will follow. That's the old saying. And Gerard Gallant never quits. Gerard Gallant was never the kind of person that would give in. He'd play when he played the game, 30, 35, 40 years ago, that Gerard Gallant was a guy that would give it his all, game in, game out, shift in, shift out. And he'd never quit on a game or his team. And I think we saw that with the Rangers, that maybe they're getting a little character and a little guts from their head coach, Gerard Gallant, these last 2 games. And to me, the big thing is Zibanejad, Kreider, the big guns are stepping up for the New York Rangers. No question about that. And now we have ourselves kind of an unexpected game 7 tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden. And of course, the Crosby watch is on. No question about that. Will he be in the lineup? If he is at least able to skate without any significant, pain or setback, you got to believe he's going to play tomorrow night in Game 7. He'll do everything he can, given the nature of the importance of that game. Florida, Washington, Vito. Man, Washington had that game multiple times in the palm of their hands, and each time Florida snatched it away. Very, very disappointing for the Washington Capitals as they fall to the Florida Panthers. Carter Verhaeghe, we were wondering if he'd play early in the day on the show yesterday. We mentioned he was a game-time decision. He ended up playing, and he ended up making another massive impact with the overtime game-winning goal, capping off what was really an amazing series for Carter Verhaeghe for the Florida Panthers. He was absolutely outstanding. And look, if you're Washington, you're playing a damn good hockey team, no question. We did start to get a little concerned at times in this series, Vito, would Florida, have that playoff mentality, be able to find a way to win a tough playoff series. And for the Florida Panthers, they answered those critics. They were down 2-1 in this series at one point, and they ended up rallying back for 3 straight wins in this series to finish off the Washington Capitals in 6 games. They got behind last night twice. They battled back each time. I think Florida answered some of the people doubting them and some of the naysayers saying, Florida, are they ready for playoff hockey? Is the style they play going to work? And is it going to translate into the Stanley Cup playoffs? All we talked about, Vito, all season was the cardiac cats and all these great comeback victories, come from behind victories for the Florida Panthers. Well, they pulled off multiple comeback wins here in this series against the Washington Capitals. So I guess they are ready to win in the playoffs, the Florida Panthers. And for Washington, if you watched Alex Ovechkin, Vito, after the series loss last night, he looks like he's frustrated with the direction of this organization. He's like, we're in a fucked up situation. That's exactly the quote that he said after the game right now, bemoaning the fact that the Washington Capitals, since the year they won the Stanley Cup, which I believe was 2018, they have not won a playoff series, not one. They have not won a single playoff series. They have been bounced in the first round every year since winning that Stanley Cup in 2018. And the frustration of that, Vito, it's getting to number 8.
Yeah, well, again, if you look, only one shot from him yesterday, a bit important game, and Ovi usually comes up with more shots, but it is what it is. And overall, I think Claude Giroux has now finally really stepped up for Florida. I think it always takes maybe a month when you're in a new team, and yesterday I think Giroux was the best player. I think he got 1 goal, 2 assists, amazing assist actually in that Verhaeghe goal. So yeah, I think we are starting to see Giroux addition here on Panthers, especially in yesterday's game, stepping up big, and getting those series done. That's what experienced guys do.
Nick Earl's right. The correlation of the Capitals not winning a playoff series since they won the Stanley Cup is the same correlation of them not winning a playoff series since they fired Barry Trotz. That's absolutely true. And of course, he went to the Islanders, and now the Islanders have fired Barry Trotz. So maybe fade the Islanders in the playoffs now every year after firing Barry Trotz. Maybe that's what we should be doing next year.
If you will see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, if you see, yeah, you're right. The Eastern Conference is look. Sorry to bust your bubble here, Nick Earl, and I'm talking about Washington in this mix too, Vito. Like Washington was the last wild card team this year. They barely got in. Look at the landscape of the Eastern Conference going into next year. Toronto's not going anywhere. They're going to be good for a few more years at least. Tampa Bay, okay, they're struggling in the first round to get past Toronto, but they're still going to be a pretty good hockey team. Florida's going to be great for years. Look out for them. The Rangers are up and coming. Even if they don't pull off this comeback against Pittsburgh, they're going to be a consistent playoff team for years with the core they've assembled, including Shesterkin and net. You look at some of the teams, too, that were out of the playoffs last year. Ottawa's only going to get better. Look out for what Stevie Y and the Detroit Red Wings are building. They're going to be a team on the rise. Look at the way the Buffalo Sabres closed the season this year. And look at the inroads that they think they can make next year. They're going to be going into next year, that Buffalo team, thinking they can challenge for a playoff spot. And why wouldn't they think that with the way they finished? So when you look at it for Washington, for the Islanders, for some of and even the Bruins, who could have some turnover if they don't get past Carolina today, there's no guarantee any of those teams are playing postseason hockey next year, Vito. Do you agree with that? Like Islanders, Capitals, Bruins. Those three teams in particular stand out to me. They're going to have to work their fucking ass off to get back into the playoffs because a lot of these top teams in the East, they're not going anywhere. They're going to be as good, if not better than they were this year. And you've got some of those non-playoff teams like Ottawa pushing for a playoff spot, maybe. Buffalo, I think, certainly is going to push for a playoff spot. And teams like that could push one of these lower-run teams out of there.
Yeah, well, definitely. Well, the older guys are just, getting older, and they will finish with their careers soon, And for the Bruins, the core is Bergeron and Marchand, And, I mean, the guys are also getting older, They're skating slower. If you just look at Ben and Seguin, those guys don't skate at all, So, it's just they're getting older and we have youth coming in, and so sooner or later it will flip, That's how it is. And then teams like Islanders, Bruins, and Capitals, those guys, if they don't make the playoffs, then they can go and play World Championship, But like now, there is like Barzal in the Canada team, I think, and some Jets players and so on,
And by the way, you mentioned it, Vito. One shot on goal last night for Ovechkin.
Yeah.
And he's talking about a fucked up situation with the organization. How about the fucked up situation that in a must-win elimination game on your home ice, you only had one shot on goal?
Well, we don't see that from Ovi lot,
Yeah. How about that fucked up situation, Ovi? Like, you got to be a little bit better than that, in a game of that magnitude. That's a pretty fucked up situation, if you ask me. One shot on goal from him last night. You're right. It didn't feel like he was all that noticeable and distinguishable in that game against Florida.
Oshie is very well. I think Oshie was the best player.
No doubt. You can't ask for more from TJ Oshie. You can't. He was absolutely brilliant in that series. He was the best.
Oshie and Backstrom, because those guys actually missed the whole season, and now they were at their best shape. So they were the most noticeable actually in playoffs from Caps, I think.
No doubt. Like I say, I've got nothing but respect for Oshie. Oshie always gives you a great playoffs. Every year he shows up in the postseason. What did he do in this series? Look, 6 games, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 goals in 6 games for TJ Oshie, and he had 2, 4, 5, 6 points as well. So there you go, 6 goals, 6 points. 7 points. 6 goals and 7 points. 6 goals, 7 points for TJ Oshie here in the first round. Can't ask for more than that.
If you just look how he plays defensively as well, he works hard. He always stays in the shooting lane, and he's just great overall player, in offense and defense. I think he's very great, yeah.
No doubt. All right, let's go to the final game last night. Shame on me. Calgary in regulation, I took it. And as soon as Dallas went up 1-0, Calgary's controlling the game early. They're all over Jake Ottinger. They're playing in the Dallas zone. Couldn't finish any of their chances. Dallas comes down on Joe Pavelski, a great drop pass to Rupe Hintz. Probably a shot that Jacob Markstrom would tell you he'd like to make that save. He didn't. Dallas went up 1-0, and I said right then and there, I don't feel good anymore about this Calgary finishing it off tonight in regulation. And sure enough, look, let's give Dallas credit. I've ripped Dallas a lot and criticized them for, they score a goal and they try to sit on it. And believe it or not, they tried to do that last night again at the beginning, but they got a 2-0 goal. Calgary came back quickly with 2 quick goals to tie it, and it forced Dallas out of that style of play. They had to attack once it got to 2-2, and it led to one of the better games of the series. I was stunned how much ebb and flow and back and forth and trading of chances there were last night in that Stars-Flames game. Way more than we've seen at any point previously in this series. To be honest, a series that's been pretty dull when you look at it for the most part. But it was back and forth, and it was a highly entertaining game, and give Dallas credit. They manned up. Pavelski was outstanding. When is Pavelski not a great player in a big game? He was again last night, and even Seguin was noticeable, at least for the Dallas Stars in that game. Hintz was solid. They got Michael Raffl at both ends of the ice. His 200-foot game last night for the Dallas Stars was impeccable. So credit to Michael Raffl as well, who played a big role in Dallas winning last night. Vito,
he also got the first line. He was, I think, in second or third line, and now he plays in the first line. So that's a boost for him.
Yep, it is. And he deserves the promotion from Rick Bowness for sure with the way he has played. But, that was the first game in the series where I can really say, Dallas deserves a ton of credit. That was a great game from their standpoint. They got speed through the neutral zone against Calgary. And that's not a strength of the Dallas Stars. But they got speed through the neutral zone, Vito, and they had Calgary running around multiple times in their own zone, unable to sort out coverage, unable to track the puck. And it led to multiple Dallas goals. And, the point shot that went in, I believe it was from Heiskanen that made it 3-2. That was just Calgary not sorting out their defensive zone coverage, not tracking the puck, letting Dallas enter the zone with speed, which is something they have not allowed Dallas to do very much in this series. And that really is what allowed the Stars to get going last night. And it was the first time where Dallas actually looks like a competent offensive hockey team. And I don't think they're a great offensive team. Last night, they looked like it. I think part of it was, they stepped it up. Part of it was that was not Calgary's A game defensively. Not even close. Giving up the blue line too easy. Giving up speed through the neutral zone. Not sorting out coverage. Not the kind of Calgary defensive performance that Daryl Sutter, Vito, is going to like very much.
Yeah. Well, if you just look from the Stars side, when was the last time we saw 40 shots from Dallas Stars? I can't really remember, so a 40-shot performance, outshooting Calgary Flames. That was a very great performance from Stars, yeah. And, when Calgary was trailing to Stars 1-2 in the series, I think it was a great price to take Calgary at -115 to win the series. So it all came down to the game 7. I still think Flames will get it done, I think Daryl Sutter mentality and everything, and I think it's going to be a close one, to be honest. I know as every other game, but yeah, I'm definitely on Flames in this series.
Yeah, definitely an interesting game 7, and there's pressure on this. Everyone's talking about the pressure that's on Carolina, even because look, Carolina's lost 2 of the last 3 years in the playoffs to the Boston Bruins. So there's a decent amount of pressure on them at home today. Obviously, it goes without saying the pressure on Toronto. They haven't won a playoff series in 18 years. High definition television, since that's been around, we have not seen the Leafs win a playoff series. So there's obviously pressure on them tonight. Edmonton, there's incredible pressure on them tonight as well, at home in the game 7 to try to beat the LA Kings. So there's pressure on all these teams, but no one's talking about the pressure on Calgary quite as much. Calgary's been a team that spit the bit with early playoff exits the last few years. So when you look at it, this is going to be a major, major test for them of their ability to finally step up in the big moment and get it done in Game 7. So it's going to be fascinating. What I like for Calgary, though, is Johnny Gaudreau has really played. Even in the loss last night, he was noticeable. He had chances. He was making things happen. So good stuff there from him. And I still think Calgary will win Game 7, but obviously going to need the distance to be able to move on to the second round for them. All right, let's go to Game 7s. We've got 3 of them here on Saturday. Let's break them down. We can't wait. It's nothing better really in sports, but especially this sport, hockey, when it comes to Game 7. It's one of the most dramatic, tense, exciting, if you're a fan of these teams, the most nerve-wracking experience of your sports fan life. Seriously. If you are a fan of one of these teams, your stomach is churning. It is literally in knots for like the entire hockey game, especially if it's a close game. So enjoy. If you're a fan of the Bruins, the Hurricanes, the Lightning, the Leafs, the Kings, or the Oilers today, your stomach's just gonna be, man, I can't take this. But it is going to be an exciting day. Can't wait. We'll start with Game 7 between the Boston Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes. We've got Carolina minus 140, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Let's start with the side and the total. I'm going with I'm sticking with Carolina. I think they win the series. I think they win Game 7 today. Home ice prevails. I still stand by the fact that if they don't give Boston's power play chances repeatedly, they keep this series 5-on-5, they will be able to win this game, and they will win this game today. However, I will say that the Bruins finally have some step-up performances given to them in that Game 6 victory at home. The question now is going to be, can Boston get, Taylor Hall doing what he did? Eric Howell, I told you before Game 6 that he needed to get going. He has just done nothing in this series, but he got a huge goal for them in Game 6, which is a great, great sign for the Bruins. It's also a great sign that they got Hampus Lindholm back in Game 6, and you already see what a difference maker he made to the blue line, getting him paired with Charlie McAvoy. That is a terrific top pair defensive pair for the Bruins, Lindholm and McAvoy. The problem is I don't love anything else behind them. Forbert's been a shot-blocking machine, and Jimmy Murphy, our colleague, actually had a great article about Forbert. He has been blocking a shit ton of shots in this series. He deserves credit for that. But Carlo, Riley, Clifton, they're all right, but they're not as deep up on the blue line as Carolina. We've talked about that with Slavin, D'Angelo, Pesci, Shea, Ian Cole, Brendan Smith. It's a great 1 through 6. Even up front, you could still get Fosstal and Niederreiter on the third line. And you've even got a fourth line. Derek Stepan, a veteran. Yes, Barry Kotkaniemi is struggling mightily. He has not done much of anything in this series. That's why he's on the fourth line now with Max Domi. Same thing. Those three guys have struggled, but they are a fourth line that can still score, if given the opportunity. So that tells you how much depth Carolina has when you've got a Max Domi and a Kotkaniemi on the fourth line for this team. Niederreiter, Stahl, and Foss, the third line. Teravainen and Trocheck. Marty Necas, the second line. I think Marty Necas props are worth a look again. Seth Jarvis as well with Aho and Svechnikov. Aho is usually a pretty big game player for the Carolina Hurricanes. He's been that way in the past. I could see that being a good prop in this game as well. For Boston props, Vito, I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I know what I'm going to get from one guy in particular in a Game 7 for the Boston Bruins, and that is everything in his guts, to be a big-time impact player, and that's Patrice Bergeron. He's been through these Game 7s a million times. I'm not going to overthink it. This is not the Game 7s to me are not the time where you say, oh, let's go shopping for the bargain bin. Let's take a shot on that plus 400 player prop with the fourth liner or the third liner. No, I'm keeping it very simple in a Game 7. A lot of the player props that I'm targeting are the guys that are up the lineup, top 6 forwards, big-time defensemen that have a track record of showing up, being big-time performers, showing up in the clutch, getting it done, and playing their best in a Game 7. And to me, that's Patrice Bergeron for the Boston Bruins today. For Carolina, with a lot of their players have struggled in Game 7s because they haven't won as many compared to Boston. But, I think Jarvis has shown enough that he's a guy that's willing to pay the price and score big goals. Aho, I think, is going to have a good game. He's had some big playoff elimination games in the past for Carolina. Necas, because he's moved up to the second line. So those are some of the props I'm looking at. I like Carolina to win Game 7. I'm not going to lay minus 140, though, with them in this game for a very simple and obvious reason. I already have them in the series. I already took Carolina in the series, minus, I think it was even money before it started, minus 115, I believe. I'm not adding on. I'm not piling on with Carolina. I'm just going to let the series bet play out. Hopefully, Carolina closes it out. We cash the series bet. If you didn't bet Carolina to win the series, then I'd say, take Carolina here in Game 7. But I'm not going to do that. I like over 5.5 as well. Somehow, some way, all these games continue to go over the total in this series. Why should this be any different? And you already know Vito, that I'm going to be on the third period over in this game as well. And by the way, with the third period overs, BetMGM, among other books, you can actually bet them before the game. You could find third period totals, in these games. Third period total over 2 minus 125. Third period over at BetMGM. So I'm on that as well, the third period over. I'm on the third period over once again in every game 7 here today. And one more bet, Vito, that I'm on. And shout out to our good friend of the show who's been on multiple times, Brett McLean. He actually texted me this morning about this, that he was thinking the strategy of his, Vito, and I'll ask you if you agree with it. He is going to put something on the draw in every game today. All 3 game 7s, the draw, and you can find the price of those draw bets at more than plus 300 at every book. So he's going to take the draw in Boston, Carolina, the draw in Toronto, Tampa, and the draw in LA, Edmonton. If just one of the 3 game 7s today goes to overtime, that is profit. That will be a profitable endeavor. If just one of the 3 games goes to overtime. If somehow 2 games of the 3 today go to overtime, then you're talking about a significant payday all of a sudden. I don't think it's that bad to consider that. I think Brett's got a decent strategy there, because you look at these series. Boston, Carolina is the one I'd be concerned about, because we've seen a lot of 5-2, 5-1 wins by margin. But a couple of those goals were 2 empty net goals late, making it a misleading final score. Toronto, Tampa Bay, we've seen back-to-back 1-goal games, including an overtime game. So Toronto, Tampa Bay, certainly, it's within the realm of possibility we could see overtime. LA, Edmonton, that was a tie game late in the third before Edmonton got the go-ahead goal from Tyson Barrie in the last game. And the game before that, game 5, went to overtime with the Kings and the Oilers. That is a series we could see an overtime game. So I like his strategy. Shout out to Brett McLean for mentioning that. A little bit on all 3 games, draw. One of them, just one game out of the 3 goes to overtime. You're going to be profitable. I think it's not a bad way to go about it. Vito, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, definitely one of the games are ending draw, I think, even maybe 2, and that is a bigger profit. So, yeah, I think it's a great strategy. I mean, to bet all the games, not try to guess which one maybe. Just go with all the games, and I think one game is going to the draw. We start to see these games. Well, in the beginning of the series, it was big gaps in the wins. Now we already saw Tampa, Toronto going to OT, and maybe the games are getting now a little bit closer. Oilers and the Kings again to the OT. A lot of OTs are starting to be here, and we're moving closer to the end of the series. And well, overall about this game, well, it's been a home series for now. And I think Boston, what I hear from Bruce Cassidy, they knew that if they want to advance, they need to win one on the road. Because they were pretty confident that they will get the job done at home. So here they are on the road, and they need to win one on the road to advance. But really, in the end, I think it really comes down to the special teams, to be honest, because Canes are good 5-on-5. I mean, they're not worse. And again, we saw, Canes always are like not whining, but they are always telling that refs are giving their penalties too much, on the Canes, and then Brindamore takes some challenge on the review one game and gets a penalty as well, and they blew that game, And now the last time they were in Boston, actually Boston got all the penalties, and we saw Canes on the power play, and what happens 5-2 for Boston. And actually, again, for Boston, they had this perfection line, and now they again split it up, and the guys get a momentum again, what they had before, and they've been stepping up and all the other things. But yeah, if you ask me who's going to win the game 4, obviously, I think I would go with Carolina here, but I'm not laying. I think that minus 140. I would go with the regulation, even I know that it's a playoff and it's easy to end in a tie. But I think it's not. You don't need to overthink this too much. I mean, Kane's been better all season, and Kane's depth is just better, and it's a game 7. And I don't think they need to change a lot. They've been playing well at home. They have won all the games. So yeah, I think it's the same preparation. Nothing changes, as Brindamore says, and just need to get those power play a little bit rolling, And yeah, you mentioned Sebastian Aho. I think he's a very good player, because I used to play with a center like that, which only passes, He doesn't score a lot, but the passes he do and the way he skates and the job he's doing on the ice, he does a lot of good job, So, yeah, I'm going to go here with the Canes. I like them here in regulation. But another look, actually, I think over 5.5, even if it's the last game and even if we can see things being tightening up. But again, we're talking about game 7, the goalie can be pulled in the end. And that 5.5, I think, has even better price than it was before in the all games, So definitely Carolina is one bet for me in regulation. I will go with, I think, like plus 120. Maybe you can even go with the puck line here. I mean, it's not a bad price there as well. I just think, Canes are a hungry team, and I think they get the job done here today here.
All right, like in Carolina in regulation, the over as well. First period draw, not a bad suggestion by
Let me tell you one thing more. I think first period, if you have that bet, first 10 minutes, no score, that could be a great look. I mean, I think teams will come out play, of course, a tight hockey. So I don't think there will be scoring at least in the first 10 minutes.
Yep. Look at Florida, Washington. Look at even the Rangers, Pittsburgh. Look how the Rangers and the Penguins turned into this big shootout last night, and it started out very tentatively, and we got through 10 minutes with no goal. Same with Florida, Washington. First goal in that game didn't happen until very late in the first. No, there wasn't a goal. There wasn't a goal in the first period last night with the Panthers and Capitals. So I think there's something to that. I think there's definitely strategies that you can consider in these 3 game 7s. I like what Brett McLean suggested with the full game draw in all 3 games. You put a little on each. One of them hits, you're profitable. You're up money, essentially. First period draw, which occupancy mentions, that's not a bad look because you expect, pretty tight affair early in the game. That's definitely possible there in that. Like I say, we saw Rangers, Pittsburgh, as Vito says, the first 10 minutes for there not to be a goal. That's definitely something that's a positive expectation wager. Rangers, Penguins had no goal in the first 10 minutes last night. Florida, Washington had no goal in the first 10 minutes last night. And in fact, the whole first period, there was no goal.
And we're talking again about the early game, Yep. So we have seen these brunch games starting slowly. So I think first period, 10 minutes, no goal.
Yeah, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. This is a late brunch. If you're eating brunch at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, it's a later brunch than normal. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's an afternoon.
Still, they don't go on the morning skate. I think in these days, like they have morning skates only if the game is at 7. So I think that's really, sorry, I think that's really what matters. Having that morning skate. If you don't have that morning skate, I think teams tend to start to play a little bit slower.
Yep. And then they've opened up second and third period, both games last night, Florida and Pittsburgh. You just all of a sudden saw it open up. So that's why, don't get too upset if, it starts on slowly. That's why you can't panic. I mean, so many of these overs that have cashed for me, and I know Andrew McGinnis feels the same way, they've had really bad starts. I mean, they've been no score or 1-0 after the first period. And you're like, man, my over is in trouble. But no, hang on, calm down, relax, breathe. There's still 40 minutes to go. And we've seen a lot of those overs still end up cashing.
Of course, this is hockey. I mean, how many bets we have placed? I mean, as well in the show, I think last week, I think it was Capitals, Florida playing. And it was also a very slow start, brunch game, and it ended up like on a good score. So, yeah, this is hockey. I mean, you can get 3 goals in 5 minutes in second period. And all of a sudden it's over, because so in hockey, you can never judge too early the game,
That's the advice that we should take that sound bite from Vito and just stick it to the top of the Ice Guys YouTube channel. It's because we need to remind people, don't fret about a bet after the first 20 minutes, all right? It's just not worth it. There's just so much hockey. So much can change, in the second and in the third period combined. And man, this first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs is living proof of that. That things can just change on a dime, and you should never, consider any wager a lost bet after just one period of hockey. That's probably the best thing we can say about not just the playoffs, but any time really in the NHL. Let it play out and see how things unfold. Speaking of how will things unfold, Vito, we turn now to Tampa Bay and Toronto. This is like a judgment day for the Toronto Maple Leafs franchise. I mean, here we are again. Another opportunity to win a series and win a game 7. Toronto hosting the 2-time defending champion Lightning, minus 125. They are home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. My gut tells me this team is due to take that step, Toronto. It's just I've got that feeling in my bones about it that, they've suffered so much. They've played such a good series so far, toe to toe with this Lightning team, that sometimes they're due, to finally exercise the demons and take that next step forward. But I ain't betting it. No way. It's a gut feel. I'm picking Toronto. I am not betting Toronto. And you can say I'm chicken shit all you want, and maybe I am. But that's the way I honestly feel in the pit of my gut. They're going to find a way, the Leafs, to finally get this done. But I don't have the guts to. I'm not laying a price. You give me Toronto at a decent underdog price here, then maybe I'm interested. But -125, no, I'm not. I am going to be on the over in this game, 6.5, but especially more so the third period over. Yeah, I'm betting all of those here in the game sevens today, and I'm on the third period over 2.5 +115 here in this third period. When you look at it here in this Lightning Leafs game, I still think the Leafs at 5-on-5. They've been at least the equal, and I would say at much of this series, they've been even better than Tampa at times 5-on-5. That has been impressive to see. You look at overtime in game 6, ultimately all kinds of chances for Toronto. Chance upon chance they had to end that game, end that series in game 6. And Vito, you got to be impressed with how they bounced back after a tough start. They got behind 2-0. There was a shorthanded goal by Anthony Cirelli. And at that moment, when he made it 2-0 the other night, I'm like, you know what? This is over. We're going to go back to game 7. But the Leafs ended up, showing some resolve, showing some fight back, some pushback in them, which they did not do in game 4. They tied it up. John Tavares, what a time for John Tavares, who I have criticized, who Leaf fans were just sick of not doing anything offensively. What a time for John Tavares to finally step up and make it happen. Back-to-back games, big goals for the Leafs, suddenly finding some offense again. He gave them a 3-2 lead. But unfortunately, like I said yesterday on the show, the Leafs still remain Lemony Snicket of the NHL. The Lemony Snicket of the NHL, a series of unfortunate events always seems to plague this team and this franchise. It was, I think, kind of a fluke play, an accident that Alex Kerfoot's stick came up on Victor Hedman. But when you're trying to close out the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions on the road in Game 6 and you're up 3-2, protecting a one-goal lead in the third period, you cannot give that team a 5-on-3 for a minute 50. You are flirting with disaster. You are playing with fire, and the Leafs got burned. The 5-on-3, obviously, Kucherov ties it up, and it's what led to overtime. And, of course, the Leafs had their chances. Give Vasilevsky some credit as well. He's not had his best series. I still don't think he's, been consistent for 60 minutes in this series in terms of a full game performance. But that was vintage, classic Andrei Vasilevsky at his absolute best in the overtime in Game 6. He was phenomenal. He made a couple of huge saves to make that, keep that game going and give the Lightning the chance to end it with Braden Point's goal. That's the scary thing for Toronto. If that's the Vasilevsky we see for 60 minutes tonight, and we know his track record in Game 7s, we know Tampa Bay's track record in Game 7s is damn good, and we know the Leafs' track record in any sort of game to move on to the next round is pathetic. It is pathetic. They're 0-9, Vito. 0-9 since 2013 in games where they've had a chance to move on in the playoffs. 0-9. That is absolutely brutal. And yet, at the same point in time, I keep looking at this team. I look at their eyes. I look at what they're saying. I look at what the way they're playing in this series. I look at Austin Matthews coming out after Game 6 and that tough loss saying, we just need to put our goddamn balls on the line here and go after it in Game 7. It's the kind of stuff I like to hear from one of the best, maybe the best player on the team. It feels in the pit of my gut like this is a team ready to ascend to that next step. But am I betting it? No, not at -125. Not with the baggage, not with the history. And they're going against a team that all they need to do, all they know how to do, Tampa Bay, Vito, is close it out and win these type of games. So I'm just going to be on small on the full game. I don't love the full game over, but man, it somehow, some way, all these games recently in this series have gone over the total. I am definitely on the third period over even more. So small over 6.5, bigger on the over 2.5 in the third period here at +115 tonight. Toronto's got to come out strong. I think if you like Toronto, maybe the first period, because you would think this has got to be a strong 20 minutes. Home ice, crowd's going to be nuts. The voice of the Leafs is telling everybody on Twitter, get in your seats for the anthem. Be there, be ready, be loud. We'll see if they are tonight. So I think if you like the Leafs, I think the first period might be even better to look at. As far as props go, Vito, for Tampa Bay, it starts and ends for me player props for Game 7 tonight with Braden Point. All right? Braden Point, all he does is show up in Game 7 or in a playoff elimination game, a big game. Look what he did in Game 6, overtime game-winning goal. He's just a big game performer. He is the obvious choice. Shots on goal to score a point, score a goal. Braden Point's the obvious player prop choice, in my opinion, for the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. For Toronto, they don't have as many guys that we trust, in big games to step up and elevate. But I think Austin Matthews might be ready to do that. The look in his eyes says it that I think he's going to have win or lose. He's going down swinging tonight. So I think Austin Matthews could be that guy for the Leafs. And again, in Game 7s, I'm not trying to be too cute. I'm trying to focus on the players that are the bigger names, the bigger stars, and the guys that I trust and have seen a track record of them stepping up in a Game 7 situation. Braden Point certainly has done that for Tampa. And even though not so much Austin Matthews, I think this is a time for him to do it. I think he's ready. I think he's had a very good series. I think he's played awesome, Austin Matthews, the last couple games of this series in particular. And he might be ready to make a big impact here in Game 7. Vito, what do you think here? Game 7, this is fascinating. You got the two-time defending champs and a team that for years, Toronto, they've been good enough to make a deep playoff run, and yet they can't get over this first-round hump. It is the noose around their neck. It is the albatross on their back. It is the fucking piano and the monkey combined on their back. Can they finally shake it off tonight?
Nice intro. Okay, yeah, well, overall, a little bit Tavares, yeah, these are playoffs, when we see those guys which are actually grinding and not playing too cute, those are the guys who are scoring the goals in playoffs, Tavares, Pavelski, and we can mention more guys, really, which are grinders, And, talking from Toronto side, I mean, it's already big enough, I think, and they don't need to try to make it even bigger, I think they just need to stick to their game. I think they have played well at home, they have played well in their building. I think they just need to continue to do basically the same thing here. And from Tampa Bay, I mean, they have played a ton of games, and I mean, to make a third round now in the playoffs, I mean, the guys are getting, the older guys, they are getting like banged up, and every playoff series, it's more, every playoff every year is more tough and more tough. I mean, for Tampa, I think, because I mean, those are Stanley Cup defending champions, and every team will get up to them and play their best hockey. And I think this is the day for Toronto. They will get it done here against Tampa, because we just seen Tampa, I mean, Toronto is just faster, because they are younger, and I think we have seen Matthews and Marner really changing little bit the game, I mean, Nylander still sometimes doesn't love to go in the board scene, we have seen that thing, but maybe he also avoids an injury, and that's not what you do in playoffs. But Marner and Matthews, I mean, we have seen some hits from Matthews, and that goal which was scored by Marner and Matthews, where Marner shot it off the pad, I think last year Marner would try to pass it, to Matthews there, and Matthews would score an empty net goal. Well, that pass maybe would not go through. This year, you can see that those guys has matured, and they do the right thing, they shoot that puck off the pad. Matthews get a rebound, he scores. That's what you do in hockey, you try to play as simple as possible, and not being too fancy and cute, So if Toronto at their own home ice today don't get too fancy and cute, but just continues to do the same thing they are doing in the playoffs, I think they're getting this game done, and I like them. Yeah, I think I like them on the money line here.
There we go. So I'm not crazy. Vito likes Toronto as well, -125. You know what what I will do, because these are Game 7s, these are tricky. What I'm probably going to do is I've already got Carolina in the series, so I'm not tying up any more money on Carolina. I'm just not. I'm fine with them to, just win the series, win Game 7 today. I'm fine with that. I'm not adding on or piling on. But I might do a little Toronto and Edmonton money line parlay, small. Because
I think about Edmonton, I think Draisaitl has not been on morning skate today, so take a look at that line, can move.
Yes. Keep an eye on that for sure. Let me just, you're right. I did hear something about, and look, if you watched Leon Draisaitl, and now as we turn our attention, by the way, to that, by the way, for a couple more props, I still stand by Ilya Mikheyev for the Leafs. Again, he's been fantastic. He's always had a chance to make something happen. Ilya Mikheyev, Michael Bunting, too, for the Leafs for a prop, because he's a guy that will go to the net. He has shown that. He gets in there. He gets his nose dirty. He's in the scrums. He's willing to ruffle some feathers out there. Those are the guys that'll make an impact usually in a game 7. So point for Tampa. Maybe Kucherov for Tampa, because look, Kucherov's not had a great series, but he got a huge goal the other night. Maybe that propels him here. Kucherov, point for Tampa Bay. Stamkos even, because he's, I think he'd love to beat, the team from his hometown in a game 7. And for the Leafs, I'd target Matthews, I'd target Mikheyev, and I'd target Michael Bunting as far as player props go. And if you want to ride the hot hand with John Tavares, who suddenly the last 2 games has found it offensively for the Leafs, I wouldn't talk you out of doing that here either. All right, let's go to the last game 7 of this incredible triple header of game 7s on this Saturday. It's the Los Angeles Kings taking on the Edmonton Oilers. We've got Edmonton right now minus 210, home favorites. The total right now 6.5, 6 at DraftKings though. So again, our great partners here. If you like over in the full game here, go bet it at DraftKings. It's over 6 minus 120 right now.
Wow, that's a big difference I'm looking at, actually. Yeah. DraftKings has over 6 minus 120, and the rest of the books have over 6.5 at minus 120.
There we go. And look, DraftKings and THPN will love me saying that for sure, that, hey, you've got this opportunity. If you like over 6 in this game, you can find it at DraftKings and be able to bet it at that number, no question. I do think Edmonton's going to get it done here, but it's with some trepidation, and it is with Leon Draisaitl's status. Leon Draisaitl was not 100% in Game 6, but he battled through it. You could tell he's dealing with something because he looked like he was in significant pain. Vito just mentioned in terms of the morning skate, he really wasn't. He wasn't in it. Now the question is going to end up being, is that just precautionary? Is it just to give him some rest, some maintenance? I would think because it's game 7, he's playing. Like, unless the guy cannot physically move at all to the level that he needs to on the ice, he will find a way to be on the ice and play tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. In a game 7 at home, I think that is going to be something to keep an eye on here in this game tonight. Look, Edmonton, I thought they played a very nice game 6 on the road. Backs against the wall. They showed me something, Vito, because game 5 was a brutal loss because of the way it unfolded. They got behind, came back, got behind again, came back again, tied it at 4. They were really all over the Kings and swarming Jonathan Quick. Connor McDavid looked like a man possessed in the 3rd period of game 5.
On a mission.
When they came back to tie that game. And then to not even touch the puck in overtime in game 5 and have LA end it that quickly. I thought it would be a really, really demoralizing loss, potentially tough to bounce back. And they bounced back. McDavid sets the tone with the early goal in game 6. And Mike Smith was solid, and they found a way. So I kind of feel with Toronto and Edmonton, these tortured fan bases in the playoffs for years, they're both ready to take a step in these playoffs and in this first round. I feel better about Edmonton because LA's a little bit more of a younger team outside of Kopitar and Brown and a couple of these players that have been around for a while. Toronto, I think, has got the harder game tonight because you're talking about the 2-time defending champions who are still very much a loaded hockey team. But I think there's signs that Edmonton's ready. It's just I hate this price. I keep coming back to that because it feels like it's going to be tight. It feels like Edmonton's going to, if they win, I don't think they're blowing out LA with the style LA plays. So it's one of those situations where, for me, it would probably, that's why I'm leaning toward the Toronto Edmonton parlay, because look, if only one of them wins, you're going to lose juice anyway. You might as well just parlay the 2 of them and see if you can get both Edmonton and Toronto home with victories here in game 7. So that's kind of what I'm looking at doing here with this game. Pretty much that's about it. I mean, by the way, that is around plus 160. A Leaf Oiler money line parlay if you want to go that route. This is another one where look at with the 6 at DraftKings. I'm interested in the over at 6.5. Not so much 6 because it's there at DraftKings. I think I'll take a shot with that. Put something on the 6 that I see at DraftKings to the over in here as well. The third period over right now, which is currently at around. Let me just actually, and by the way, I'm on the third period over for Toronto. I'm not sure I said that, but yeah, over 2 minus 145 for the third period over with Tampa Bay, Toronto, and also over 2 minus 145 for the third period over with the Kings and the Oilers. Also, the draw for Toronto, Tampa. Like I'm doing what Brett McLean, was doing. I think he's smart to try give it a shot. The draw in all 3 games. So I'm on the draw, plus 3. Let me just see. I got to find the book that there's one specific book that I use for the draws, and because I know I get consistently better prices on the draw at this book, plus 312 for the draw with Boston, Carolina, plus 342 for the draw with Tampa Bay, Toronto, and plus 382 for the draw with LA and Edmonton. So there's some really good prices there. And again, if you sprinkle a little on each game today, each game 7 draw to go to overtime, one of them wins. That's it. One of them wins. One of the 3 goes to overtime. You're profitable. You lose 2, you're down minus $200. You win 1, you're all of a sudden up over $100. That's all it takes. One of the 3 game 7s today goes to overtime, and you're profitable with this strategy of putting a little bit on the draw in each of the 3 games today. It's a great thought, and definitely we'll be doing that here as well with the Kings and the Oilers. Pinnacle, Daniel H. Pinnacle. That is where I went with the draw bets there for the 3 game 7s today. So there we go. I think I know we're talking about tortured fan bases, tortured franchises. They haven't won a thing in these big spots, Toronto and Edmonton. Yet here I am, going to stand up on my pulpit here and say that I think they've got a pretty good chance here, maybe to finally end that spell. Yeah, the draw has been a bad bet, Jackson, in our chat. You're right. It has been. There's been lots of lopsided games. Puck lines have been cashing. I get the sense, though, with these games, we're going to see tight games. And let's not forget, 2 one-goal games in a row, Toronto, Tampa, and one of them went to overtime. We saw overtime in Game 5, LA-Edmonton. LA-Edmonton Game 6, Vito, was 2-2, it was tied, 2-2 in the third period with about 5 minutes left when the Oilers took the lead. It was that close, that game, to go to overtime. So we've seen tight games in particular with Toronto and that series and the Edmonton series lately. So I think it's got a chance to hit at least one to go to overtime today. Vito, what do you think here, though? Game 7, LA-Edmonton.
Well, yeah. First of all, I need to check on that Draisaitl thing, definitely. He has been not on the morning skate, so need to follow that thing. And yeah, well, it's Game 7, and, this price, I think, is a little bit ridiculous, Even as good as maybe Oilers are and Kings are, any team which is in a playoff, they deserve to be there, and they can.
They're not chopped liver. They played a good series too, the Kings. Yes,
exactly. Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, just now Kempe had been stepping up, so he just now stepped up, scored some goals. I think he will carry on the momentum as well in this game. And we again talking about Mike Smith. He's been hot, but there's again Jonathan Quick on the other side. So how I see this game going, actually, I think we're gonna have a high scoring game. And I think it's going to go down to really which goalie will have that crucial save somewhere in the third period. I think Quick in a high-scoring game is actually a better goalie than Smith, when it's going to be 3-3 or 4-4. I think Quick is the side that you want to be on because that guy does not break as easy as I think maybe Smith, And, anyways, when I saw Smith last game going out from a goal and trying to hit an empty netter, man, you are up. This playoff series, you already made a mistake. Why the hell you would go out and try to score a goal now? That was so risky. I mean, it looks like he does not learn from his mistakes, I mean, it's good to move the puck, It helps the defenseman, to break out, and it's very good, but you don't do that in third period, when it's like 1 or 2 minutes left. I mean, it's playoffs. Come on, man. Like, that's why maybe he has never been so deep in playoff run, So it really comes down to that. So what I see here, I think over 6 at the DraftKings, which we can see here at minus 120. again, rest of the books have 6.5. So and only DraftKings have 6. So I think over 6 is the way to go here. I think it's easy, can go over. I mean, we have seen a lot of scoring chance for both teams. Drew Doughty is out for all the time for Kings. I mean, and that opens up some. I mean, in the first games they try to tighten up, but as we go deeper in the playoffs, they will start to miss that Drew Doughty, and that will lead to the scoring chances. And we have seen so many expected goals, especially in these series. And yeah, both goalies are great goalies, but they can easily let in 3-4. And I think both teams are scoring today 3 goals, for example. So yeah, give me over 6 in this game, and that's my play.
Yeah, you aren't kidding. I mean, this has been a surprisingly open series. Not so much from Edmonton, but LA. They've actually gotten on the horse here and traded chances with the Oilers for a good portion of this series so far in the first 6 games. So it's been surprisingly a series with more goals in it than we thought, for sure. But yeah, I mean, that's why it's fascinating. Look, that's also why there's no way I would take Toronto and Edmonton single bets with their tortured past, with their inability to step up in the past. For me, it's just and this is not big time mucho dinero in play for me here. This is a smaller scale bet for me with this Edmonton Toronto 2-team money line parlay, which is plus 160, which is a good price. That way, because look, I'm going to be down even if it goes 1-1. Let's say Toronto wins, Edmonton loses, or vice versa. Edmonton wins, Toronto loses. If you bet them single, you're going to lose juice. You're going to actually be down and be negative in terms of loss. So that's why for me it's an easy decision. Just a small parlay, both win, and it ends up plus 160 if that happens. So that's the way we're going. And you like the over. I like the over too in this game, over 6 minus 120. And I like the third period over in all 3 games. I like the draw in all 3 games. And all we need is 1 to get profit with the 3 full game draws here today between in the 3 games: Kings, Oilers, Leafs, Lightning, Bruins, and Hurricanes. So a decent strategy there.
Well, I think Tampa Bay and Toronto, I think, could be the closest one which is going to go to OT. Just a little bit about that game more. If Tampa wins, it's going to be, I think, a low-scoring game. And if Toronto wins, it's going to be a high-scoring game. That's what I can see.
Yeah, Tampa Bay has won some game 6s and game 7s, like closeout games. They won 1-0, I think, against the Islanders, didn't they? Last year or 2 years. I think it was last year. Game 7 was like 1-0, I believe, for Tampa Bay. So I honestly think they don't mind it being tight and low scoring. So I think there's truth.
Well, that's the way they can beat Leafs, I think, they want to play. They will not outskate them, Leafs are a younger team. They're faster, I think, they will not really outskate them. So they really need to settle down. I mean, Tampa can do that, and just play simple hockey, as I always say, and not getting this high scoring game, because I think then actually Leafs will win. But Tampa can win in a low scoring game because they also have a little, I think, goalie advantage.
Yeah, Victor Arvidsson's out. Someone asking in the chat, Victor Arvidsson won't be back. He's out for at least tonight. If they win this game and they go to the second round, LA, they're hoping Arvidsson will be back for that, but he will not be in tonight. For props tonight, for me, it's Kopitar, it's Kempe, it's Moore, it's Danault, it's Grundstrom. He's been moved up to the second line. Witness the power of Grundstrom. Carl Grundstrom has been moved up the lineup, and in the 3 games, he's gotten 3 goals and 4 points in the 3 games for the LA Kings. So Grundstrom props, yes, and value, because look, he's been moved up and he's made things happen and he's not getting priced like it. So this is a good prop game for LA because Kopitar, we can trust him in a game 7. He's been through this many times. We know Kempe's capable. We know how great Trevor Moore has been in this series. Philip Danault is always a threat both ends of the ice, and even his offensive game has had a resurgence this year. And Carl Grundstrom props, simply because of the impact he's made since he's been moved up to the second line for the LA Kings. For Oilers props in this game, it would be Yamamoto again. He had a million chances the other night. I don't feel bad that I bet Yamamoto props in game 6, even though he didn't score a point and didn't score a goal. He had a bunch of chances. He had a bunch of good looks. He's still going to be on the first line tonight with McDavid and Kane, it looks like. Draisaitl with Nugent, Hopkins, and Hyman. That appears to be the second line that Jay Woodcroft is going to go with tonight. So I still feel like Yamamoto props didn't work out last game, but as long as he's going to get that top line right wing role, next to Connor McDavid, he's going to get his looks. He's going to get his chances. And I think definitely you're going to see that from him tonight. So those are the props I like in that LA Edmonton game tonight. Great stuff, Vito. I can't wait. It's a great day for anybody that's a hockey fan and a hockey bettor. That we have 3 Game 7s today, and we're going to have 2 more Game 7s on Sunday. And we'll be back tomorrow to break those down. Noon Eastern time. Vito will be back with me, and we will have a special, or at least we're expected to have a special guest. But I think this guy's not is going to be in. And won't need to reschedule for him. But yes, Perry DeRiso is going to join us tomorrow as our special guest. He's been a pro hockey player for years. He's been retired, though, now for a few years. But looking forward to having him on the show to break down the Sunday games on the Ice Guys tomorrow. 2 more Game 7s, the Penguins, Rangers, followed by Stars and Flames. And we will break down those games and preview them from a betting perspective tomorrow on the Sunday edition of the Ice Guys at this same time, noon Eastern. All right, before we get to best bets, we want to remind you, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL team and win $150 in free bets. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state, you can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy hockey contests. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN, bet just $1 on any NHL team, get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older, must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app, sign up for an account, and use the promo code THPN. All right, best bets to wrap it up for this Saturday, this awesome Saturday ahead of triple header Game 7 action here in the first round. Cannot wait. Vito, let's start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, well, we talked about the 3 games, and actually, which most I like for the best bet, I would go with well, cannot decide. I let me give 2 best bets. Let me give Kings Oilers over 6, and I like Carolina on the money line.
All right, Carolina money line -140, and LA Edmonton over 6 -120. 2 best bets for Vito on this Saturday Game 7 Saturday. I've done that before too. 2 best bets when I can't decide between them. So yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. I've done that a bunch, no question. My best bet is look, I'm gonna rock with it again. It's 5.5. It's 5.5 again with this total. The Bruins and the Hurricanes. Now I like Carolina, but I'm not betting Carolina in Game 7. I've got them in the series. I think Carolina might have been my best bet if I was betting Carolina in Game 7, but I'm not, because I've already got them in the series. So I'm not going to go with Carolina as a best bet, even though I do like them to win Game 7 today. But I will go with the over, because I am betting the over. 5.5, full game, over 5.5, -115, Boston, Carolina. Again, we look at the series. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I said that about the Rangers Penguins last night, or on yesterday's show. Every game had gone over the total. I'm not expecting things to change. It's just devolved into one of those series where we've seen both teams have offensive success against the opponent. And same with Carolina, Boston. Every game in this series has had at least 6 goals. 5-1, 5-2, 4-2, 5-2, 5-1, 5-2. Those have been the scores. All of them getting to at least 6 goals. And that's all we need to cash another over in this series today in Game 7. So Boston, Carolina, over 5.5, -115. That is going to be my best bet here for this Game 7 Saturday on the Ice Guys. That'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. We appreciate it. Hit the like button on the way out. Over 200 live viewers. We appreciate it so much. Thank you for the support 1,000,000 times over. The Ice Guys is growing. The subscribers to the YouTube channel growing. The video views daily. The numbers keep going up. Same with the podcast downloads. And it's not possible without you joining us every day. And we appreciate that.
Yeah, and guys, you can definitely also go and make a follow on the Twitter, guys. I post all my plays always for free, as well as I'm gonna jump in a World Championship now. a
Yep.
little bit watching the first games, and now I can also start betting on World Championship. So there's going to be a lot of action for hockey.
Absolutely. And I think your homeland is in action right now. I believe Latvia is just about to
In
start
20
their
minutes,
game.
yeah. In 10 minutes, yeah. Yep.
Go Latvia. Let's go. Get it done
Well,
for
again,
Vito
Finland,
here.
you know.
Yeah. Tough
I
one,
think
though.
Finland won the Olympic gold. Yeah. So that's why they're so big favorites, you know.
Yeah. But Latvia is a gutsy, hard-nosed, tough team. You know,
Merzlikins didn't have the best game yesterday against USA, letting some softies. Let's see what he does today.
That's Merzlikins. He can have some really rough games, and then he can stand on his head and look spectacular at times. He's capable of that. So hopefully it's the good Elvis in the building today for Latvia as they take on Finland in the World Hockey Championship. All right, great stuff, Vito. Awesome show, and we're back to do it all again tomorrow on Sunday at noon Eastern with our special guest, Perry DeRiso, joining us as well. So make sure you join us for the Sunday edition of the Ice Guys. For Vito, I'm Ian Cameron. Oh, by the way, the Ice Guys are on 7 days a week live, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Vito, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the triple header of Game 7s. Cannot wait. And we will be back tomorrow on Sunday, noon Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.